Welcome, my dear audience and friends, to Cancer Convos with Grace B. This is your host, Grace B, coming to you from New York City, the city that never sleeps and is home to Cancer Convos with Grace B. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for the continuous support on all my platforms. For the newbies, this show aims to demystify the cancer disease by bringing on experts and stakeholders to come give their take. In this episode of the Men's Health Month series, I will be having a conversation with an amazing TEDx speaker, a men's health activist, and a cancer survivor who is raising awareness on a subject that most men would actually sweep under the rug. And while doing so, he's living his life with a lot of humor, passion, and style. Anyway, let me not spill the beans just yet. Without much ado, let me welcome Justin Burke-Bishley to the show. Justin, welcome to Cancer Convos with Grace B. So glad to have you on.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit about yourself. Could you please let the audience know what you're all about, your background?
Yeah, so I'm currently 28 years old. I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia. My cat's about to jump into the shot here. You'll see his tail, and there it is.
Oh, he's so cute. Look at him.
Yeah, there. He's my co-star.
Oh, bless.
Yeah, so he's my first son. The two of us, we live here in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I work in elementary schools. I used to teach fourth grade. Now I work with teachers and students in technology integration, so that's cool. But that's kind of like my background, personal. If I can jump right into the cancer story too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, like I said, I'm 28 years old now. So this starts about 3.5 years ago in the fall of 2016. I was on a business trip actually, and I was doing a shower, and it was a good time to do my monthly self-exam of my testicles, just because why not? When you're on a business trip, that's where you should do it.
Yeah.
You should be doing it at least once a month. That just happened to be when I did it. And I noticed on the left testicle there was a lump that hadn't been there in the previous month. And so when I got home, after a couple of days, I made a call. Well, first of all, I had to get a doctor because I didn't have a doctor at the time, which is very common for a lot of guys. And so I got a doctor, got in, they did an ultrasound. They found out that there was a mass on the testicle. So then I got to a urologist, and in a matter of, going from not having a doctor in less than about a week, I had a urologist, and he sat me down. He said, "Justin, you most likely have testicular cancer and we need to operate immediately." So that was a shock because I wasn't expecting to hear that. So I went in, I had the left testicle removed, and they confirmed it was cancer. So they did a scan of my body, found that it had spread to my lymph nodes, which meant I was going to need chemo. So then I started meeting with an oncologist again. So again, I'm 25 years old. I have a urologist and an oncologist, two things I never thought I'd have at that time.
At that age.
Right. So I did 3 rounds of BEP chemo. So it was a total of 21 treatments in 3 months. So that's more chemo than some people have over like years. It's a very aggressive regimen. So sometimes when I tell people that I had 3 months of chemo, they're like, "Oh, that's not bad." And it's like, well, I had a lot of treatments in those. It was pretty much daily for 3 months. So then I've been in remission ever since March of 2017. So this, it's been about 3 years. Yeah, a little bit over 3 years. So that's
awesome.
A very condensed version.
Just like me, 3 years as well. So touch wood, God keeps us. That's nice. So really, where are you now, your treatment plan? You're not having any more interventions or whatever?
No, I'm just on surveillance now. So I just had blood work done about 2 weeks ago. And then I'll have another set of CAT scans in December. And provided those go well, I'll have one more the following December, and then I won't need to be tracked too closely because then I'll be at the 5-year mark.
Yeah. So right now you do it annually, right?
Yep. Yeah. I was doing it every 6 months, but then after this past scan, they bumped me to once a year.
Okay. That's fair enough. That's quite good, you know. Yeah,
Mhm.
right. So, testicular cancer, this is, as you said, you were relatively young at 25 to be diagnosed with that. Um, I would love to inquire about your emotional health at this time. What went through your mind when you received this diagnosis?
So honestly, when I received the diagnosis, I was more or less kind of numb. I just kind of, went into a fight or flight mode, and I went for the fight option. I just, and really throughout the whole treat surgery and treatment and everything, it was just, tell me what to do. I will show up at the hospital. I will show up at the infusion center. I will be there. I'll sit in this chair. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. So initially it was, I guess, like, from the outside and really on the inside, I felt more or less okay. It wasn't until really everything was done when life kind of slowed down. And then I was like, whoa, what just happened over the past couple months? Because as you said, like, while testicular cancer is, a lot of people, like you said, say when they found out I was diagnosed when I was 25, they're like, wow, you're so young. Well, it's actually the most common cancer in young men. So, but no one's really talking about it. So it's rare, but it's not rare.
Mhm.
But then once everything was all done and the dust started to settle, that's when I really started to process and realized that I was, you know, my physical health took a beating, but I focused on that for so long. But then I didn't realize how much my emotional and mental health really was impacted by everything.
Absolutely. So during this time, like you said, fight or flight mode. During this time, yeah, you fought. Afterwards, did you mentally fight, or did you also seek some kind of therapy, psychological therapy or something?
So truth be told, I'd love to tell you that I had the same fighting mentality with the mental health, but I didn't. While I was all in on the fight for the physical fight, I chose flight for the mental health. And for, I did go to a therapist, but it was kind of a just check a box type thing. I didn't really get too invested in it. But it was about 6 months after finishing chemo, I realized that I was getting into a very dark place. But I still didn't do anything about it because, I was just being a prototypical guy. So it was finally when I came up for my yearly scan, I knew things weren't going, like, internally. I was just falling apart. And so I went in for my appointment, and my oncologist, who's been great, and I'm so fortunate to have him. He said, Justin, how are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm doing fine. And he kind of paused for a second. He said, Justin, how are you really doing? And in that moment, I was like, I'm not doing great. So he put me on medication for depression. And that helped a lot, in addition to exercise and just getting time outdoors. And then about 6 months or so after that, I can't remember the exact timeline. It might have been a little bit. It was 20. Yeah, it would have been about a year ago. I did start going to a therapist, and I go, with COVID going on right now, it's been all like on FaceTime, but I've been going every other week for a while now because it's virtual. I don't go as often, but it's been helpful. And one thing, I've opened up a lot about it. Like, I was afraid to admit to myself or to my medical team about mental health challenges, but now I'm very open about it to everybody. Even my cat, who's over there now, he'll probably make another cameo appearance at some point. But yeah, that's I the physical fight from discovering the lump to going in remission, that was a total of like 6 months maybe. I'm
Right.
almost 3 years and 6 months out of in survivorship, and it's a
Mhm.
different battle every day. So that's one thing that I always try to really stress that the fight's not over just when the physical fight is.
Absolutely. The fight is never over, I think, until we leave the world, because
Right.
this is something that has left a very lasting impact on our psyche, on our bodies. And yeah, like you said, the mind actually is very important. Our mental health is very important during these times. And I'm very happy that you sought that, you were honest with yourself. A lot of people are not honest with themselves.
Mm.
We all push it back and say, oh, we're okay and everything. But yeah, I'm glad. But, you look great and you sound great. And I'm coming to something now. For you, you are different. You're a very young man compared to, I'm just knowing now through you that testicular cancer is quite common amongst young men. I didn't realize that. So does it mean that testicular cancer is common among young men and then prostate cancer is common among older men?
More or less. I mean, you can still develop either one as long as you have a testicle or a prostate, you can develop it at any age. But it does seem like 50% of cases of testicular cancer are in men from about 18 to 30s, 40s. And then it's definitely, once you get above, 40, 50, 60, definitely older than that, then prostate cancer is the number one cancer for older men. So it's two things that guys need to be vigilant of. Something that you need to be aware of all your plumbing, if you will, going on down there, because not many people know about it. And I was just fortunate enough to know to be doing a self-exam because my pediatrician actually had told me about it when I was like 14 or 15, and
Really? That far back?
yeah. And that's about 15 is when men should start self-examinations. So I just happened to be the one bit of advice I actually did follow from my doctor, and made it, even though I wasn't going to the doctor regularly, I was being my own doctor, I guess. And so it's just something that more guys need to know about and how to do it, and to do it monthly. That's the huge thing.
Yes, exactly. I forgot to ask, what stage were you at when you were diagnosed? What stage was it?
I was stage 2.
Okay, stage 2, right. And that meant that, as you had said, it had spread to the lymph nodes for you to be able to access chemotherapy, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, like I said in my intro, that these are this is a subject, or testicular cancer or prostate cancer. I'm African, and I know that it's something that a lot of my African brothers are reluctant to open up about, even when they have it, even to their closest of relations, because it's considered a macho thing. Why do you think men are generally reluctant? They're usually the last ones to go, for a checkup or to admit to anybody that there's something not quite right. Why do you think so?
Well, I think it's a couple of reasons, and one you kind of alluded to. It's guys want to be seen as manly and masculine, and I mean macho. If you look at the guys who have been the celebrities, we've got like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Brad Pitt and so on and so forth. But the one thing that I always talk about guys is if you Google like top 10 manliest men in history, pretty much consistently one guy who comes up is John Wayne, because you think John Wayne, you think the cowboy, the rough and tumble. Well, he had lung cancer when he was back in the 70s. He was like in his 50s, and he only detected it because he got to the doctor, because he was kind of nagged into going, but that's neither here nor there. And he detected it, and then he became a spokesman for early detection and preventative care. And so, when somebody says, oh, it's not manly or it's not macho, well, if John Wayne can do it, anybody can do it, really. And,
exactly.
The Rock, who is like one of my personal heroes, he's very open about his mental health. And so that argument doesn't really hold as much water anymore. And then the other thing is, guys traditionally have always been raised to be the protector, the provider for the loved ones. And so my rebuttal to that is, well, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be there to take care of others. So I've heard everything. It's embarrassing. It's to that, guys make all sorts of jokes all the time. I've seen some of the things that guys, I was a college guy. I know some of the things I did in college were far more embarrassing than talking about testicular cancer. We're not going to get into those today.
Yeah, the next show.
The next show. I'll be wearing like a mask so my face can't be identified.
No problem.
But yeah, so it's all about, and it's just not something that we're raised to really take ownership of. And another thing is, in females, once they start going to a gynecologist early on because of, birth control and for whatever, that's, they have a specialist in that area. Whereas guys don't really have that kind of thing. And so we're not told as much and reinforced. So it's a whole lot of issues, a lot of reasons why men don't seem to be as open about their health. But it really just starts with, conversations like today. Just if you can encourage one man to go take care of his health and then pass it on, it's a ripple effect from there. And eventually it'll become the norm and not the anomaly.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And what you're doing is fantastic. Your website, which is called A Ballsy Sense of Tumor, is just, it's like I'm reading some kind of comedy script or whatever, because there's so much life, there's so much humor, and you are real. Very catchy brand that you have. What moved you to start?
So it's interesting, the kind of the evolution of the blog. It originally started as I was frustrated that I couldn't find resources online written from the perspective of a 20-something-year-old guy going through chemotherapy. I could find a ton of clinical information. I could find a lot of information about women going through chemo. I couldn't find a whole lot about a guy in his 20s going through chemo and what to expect. So I had kind of been journaling throughout the process, and I shared it was just a Google Doc, and I shared it with one of my friends, and my friend said, you're essentially crafting the resource that you wanted. Why don't you just do something with it? So I did. And then from there, as I was writing, because I my story is kind of the primary narrative, but I didn't want it to just be all about me. I wanted to, a bigger issue. So as I learned more and more about men's health, I realized, oh, wow, guys don't talk about their health. And, but guys like humor. And so, if you do it in an engaging way, guys don't often realize that they're learning from it, which is, trick them into learning. Like I said, I work in the schools, and that's great. Yeah. So it's kind of just been a progression from there. Is, I wanted to, while it didn't give me the answers I was looking for at the time, it gave me an outlet to get my thoughts out there. And then I knew I was paying it forward to the next version of Justin who came along.
Very nice. Very, very nice. And this obviously has catapulted you onto several stages, where the impact is even more greater. They see the person, actually speaking his story and, doing his storytelling in an amazing way. I've watched your YouTube. There was something on YouTube about it, and it was amazing what you did and how you kind of made people immerse themselves into your story. And so people could actually leave taking that away with them, that, hey, we've got to, take care. As men, we have to take care of ourselves first before we decide to take care of other loved ones. Fantastic. So what is your driving force? What drives you when you're doing all this? yes, you have gone through so much stuff, but I'm sure you must have um, gotten a lot of feedback from all that you do. Is that your driving force too?
Yeah, it's really it's for the, like I said earlier, the next version of Justin who comes along. I don't want anybody to go through something and not know what to expect, because when you have so much anxiety or worry about what's coming next, that's, you're basically suffering twice. So
Mm.
well, I'm not a doctor, and nor do I play one on TV. I it's great to get up on stage and win awards and accolades and so on and so forth, but that's not why I do it. I do it so the next guy knows how to handle it, and hopefully to even better prevent a guy from having to go through chemo. Because if we educate enough guys to know about the importance of early detection, instead of going through months and months of extensive surgeries and chemo, it can be a 2-hour surgery and you're done.
Mhm.
And so that's, there's no necessary, you, I don't know if we're ever going to get to the place in the world where there is no cancer, but I think we can definitely get to a place where, with early detection and preventative care, makes the overall impact of cancer much less, and we can focus on, um, not, like I said, not eliminating but diminishing the impact of cancer.
Yes, absolutely. And taking you back, who were your caregivers during this period?
My main caregiver during the period was my mom. She lives up in Pennsylvania, and she still does, but she came down to help take care of
Oh,
me for the majority of chemo. So, I was so happy to, when I graduated college and move out, I was so happy to move out. And then who knew, a couple years later, my mom was going to be moving in with me.
thank God you did. I didn't have a mom
Oh
when I
yeah,
went through this. So,
right.
yeah, I just wanted to know your support system, because your support system also is very critical during these periods.
Mhm.
A lot of people that fight alone usually don't do too well afterwards. But if you had a good and strong support system, yes, the chances of survival, healing and survival, and your mental resilience and all that, um, skyrockets.
Oh, for
So
sure.
yeah, that's what I forgot to ask. That's amazing. So Justin, tell me, while going through all this, what activities do you engage in to keep you grounded?
So I do a lot of reading now about a variety of different topics, just because I kind of, when prior to cancer, when I was working full time, well, I still work full time, but when I was working full time and going to school pretty much, or work on my master's degree full time, pleasure reading kind of fell by the wayside. And then when I suddenly had a lot of time during chemo, but then I had chemo brain that made it very hard to read. Now I love to read in a variety of topics. Right now, I'm trying to learn a lot about anti-racism, just because that's what's going on in the world right now. And I know myself, I need to know more about it. So I've been alternating between, work through a couple of different books, and then I, alternate between a fiction and a nonfiction book. Um, and then another thing is exercise, because again, that was something else that fell by the wayside when I was, working full time, working my master's full time. I let myself get really out of shape. I'll be
Mhm.
perfectly honest in admitting that.
Sure.
But now I know, the importance of being in good shape, and, that helps diminish the potential recurrence or a secondary cancer or whatever. And it's also just a good outlet, to get out, get your body moving. There's nothing better than that. And then, right now, while it's been nice outside, just spending as much time outside, which sometimes directly conflicts with getting to the gym, because it'll be so nice outside that I'm laying in my hammock, I'm reading a book, and I'm like, I should really go to the gym, but it's a nice 75 with minimal humidity and a nice breeze. I don't really want to go to the gym right
I don't
now.
want to move from
Right.
here. That's nice. That's great. I'm so happy to see you blossom and do well and impact. Both of us are We Go Health mates.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So we try, but you do exceptionally well, and I'm really, really happy about that. So I know that uh, this question I'm about to ask, I mean, if somebody asked me, I'd say no way. If you could go through this path again, would you?
Um, that's a good question. I probably would. While I don't want to ever go through chemo again because that really was bad, it's definitely shaped who I am today. And so I learned a lot from it. It'd be great if I could maybe learn what I without the actual chemo part of it. But
Yeah,
you can't take one without the other.
absolutely.
So knowing what I know now, I would be okay with going through it again. If I didn't know what I knew now, I don't think I would have gone through it, but it's definitely a life-changing experience and an experience that as I'm always hesitant to say that I'm fortunate to have gone through it, but it opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yes, it certainly has shaped us in much more positive ways.
Mm-hmm.
They say you have to sacrifice something, and I think if that's what we had to sacrifice as cancer survivors, well, so be it. But our lives have changed, and like you rightly said, for the better.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing what we know now, we probably wouldn't have learned all this when we were okay, uppity, uppity. We
Right.
had to actually feel the heat, down in
Mm-hmm.
the abyss to be able to come out to where we are now. So thank God we're thriving and doing well, and creating impact and pushing forward. Yeah, we have days that were, for me, I have days that I'm not too good, but like I always say, those days are not welcome to stay,
Mm-hmm.
because I push past all those negativity. It's normal, it comes back. But
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
you keep saying, okay, I got you, I understand where you're coming from, but not today. Okay, so
Yeah.
take a walk, and then they go. So yeah. So Justin, my audience, if they need to reach you, I know about your blog and everything, but could you please let us know more about your blog, and then your email address and other social media platforms you're on as well?
Yeah. So the easiest thing is to just go to aballsysenseoftumor.com, and that's the website, and it's got pretty much links to everything from there. My Instagram is a ballsy sense of tumor. My Facebook is a ballsy sense of tumor. My email is Justin at a ballsy sense of tumor. My Twitter is ABSOTTC because a ballsy sense of tumor was like 2 characters too long for Twitter.
Yeah,
Um,
for Twitter, right?
yeah, so that's like the one thing that bothers me to this day. But it's fine. I got over it. But yeah, so but if you head to the website, you can get to all the social media from there and check out all the different links and resources on there as well.
Yeah, it's actually going to be, on my wall, all my platforms,
Mm-hmm.
links to you, so the audience and other people would be able to get that information when I put it out there.
Okay, very cool.
So, thank you so much for giving me your time. And where's your cat now?
Connor,
Let me say bye-bye.
I can hear him coming. Come here, buddy. Oh, come on here. Come
Oh,
on up.
sweetheart.
Come here, bud. Come on up. Yeah, jump. Thank you. Yep, there he is.
Oh, he's so, so, so cute. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
he's my buddy.
Thank you so much to the two of you. Um, and I'm really appreciative of you finding the time to come to be with me and answer these, questions, and being a source of hope and light for anybody, for that one person. I always target that just one person that'll be out there that needs to, you know, be inspired by what you do, by what you say, and coming onto the show to learn a lot more.
Yeah. Well,
So
thank you very much for having me.
it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Justin.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. I'll just sign out and then sign you out. So, my dear friends, there you have it. We've been speaking with the amazing Justin Berg-Bichlet about his life during and after cancer, and what he stands for, and how he's paying it forward to make sure that men take their health as seriously as possible. So you'll be hearing more about him. I'll be sharing the links, and you'll be able to go see what's going on his website. All right. So thank you so much. Wishing you love and light. Take good care until the next episode. Ciao, ciao. Thank you, Justin.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Have a good evening.
Bless you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.